The email came at 8:03 a.m. Subject, change of structure, immediate HR meeting, no greeting. No explanation. Just a location and a time, 9:00 a.m. Conference room B. Cassandra stared at the screen for 3 full minutes. Then she closed the laptop, stood up, and walked across the office like it was any other Tuesday. Quiet heels. Neutral face. Hair in the same low knot she'd worn every day for 5 years. At 8:12, the door creaked open. A small voice called out from behind the front desk. "Mommy?" Everyone turned. Ella, 6 years old, pink hoodie, mismatched socks, holding a paper flower she'd made from a recycled newsletter. She waved it in the air and ran across the lobby right into Cassandra's arms. People smiled, then froze. Cassandra knelt to hug the girl without saying a word. At the far end of the hall, Ethan, CEO, father, boss, stepped out of his office. He stopped when he saw them. Ella looked up at him. "Daddy, can we go get muffins now?" Mommy said after breakfast meeting. No one moved. No one spoke. Cassandra stood. "Ella, honey. Go draw something for me in the break room. I'll come find you soon." The girl skipped away. Ethan didn't meet her eyes. He turned back into his office and shut the door. Cassandra sat at her desk. Closed the window with Ella's coloring photos. Opened a clean notepad. Wrote down one sentence, "Today is the last day." At 8:59, she walked into conference room B, inside HR manager. Legal counsel. Ethan. He didn't sit. Just stood at the head of the table, holding a thin folder. "We've decided to restructure," he said, clearing his throat. "Your role will be absorbed into a more agile model. A younger team." Cassandra didn't blink. 5 years is a long time, he added. "You've been instrumental. This is not about performance. It's just evolution." The HR rep slid a printed agreement toward her. 2 months severance. Plus accrued vacation, she said gently. "You'll also get support from our outplacement partner." Cassandra raised a hand slightly. Just a gesture to stop the script. She picked up the folder, flipped through the pages once, and closed it. Then looked at Ethan. For the first time in years, she didn't see the man who once waited outside her apartment in the rain. Who'd asked her to stay late for just 5 more minutes, that turned into hours and secrets. She saw a coward, dressed in a suit tailored to hide indecision. "No need to walk me out," she said softly. And that was it. She packed in silence. A plant. A framed photo. A worn notebook full of flight schedules, client notes, hand-drawn diagrams from 5 years of corporate survival. Ella's drawing sat on her desk. A stick figure holding 2 smaller hands. "Me, mommy, daddy." She folded it, tucked it into the back of her planner, and stood. No one stopped her. No one dared. As she passed Ethan's office, the door was slightly ajar. He was sitting, staring at his phone. He didn't look up. In the lobby, she spotted Ella still coloring. "Can I come with you now?" the girl asked. Cassandra knelt down again, eye level. "Not today, baby. Daddy will take you." "But he's always on the phone." Cassandra kissed her forehead. "Today, he'll have to look up." She handed her the flower. "Keep this safe, okay?" Ella nodded, eyes wide. And just like that, Cassandra walked out. 5 years of loyalty. 5 years of buried lines. 5 years of building something that wasn't hers to keep. At 9:22 a.m., her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "We should talk. Tonight?" She turned off the screen. Slid the phone deep into her coat pocket. Outside, the wind picked up. She didn't look back. They met on a red-eye to Boston. Cassandra was 28, flying coach, half asleep with a briefing folder balanced on her knees. Ethan was in business class, wearing an undone tie and drinking club soda like it was whiskey. He offered her his aisle seat during boarding. She declined, politely. He noticed. 2 weeks later, she started at Ellison Tech as his new executive assistant. The rumors came quickly. She was the youngest EA the company ever hired without a second-round interview, the reason he skipped golf meetings on Fridays. None of it mattered. Cassandra worked like gravity, quiet, precise, impossible to ignore. Within 6 months, she'd rebuilt the CEO calendar system, streamlined investor reports, and personally prepped Ethan for 6 keynotes across 2 continents. She never asked for credit. He gave it anyway. "You're the only one who sees what I see," he told her once, half asleep in a Zurich hotel room, tie loosened again. She didn't respond. She'd heard things like that before from bosses, from mentors, from men who blurred lines and forgot to apologize. Ethan was smarter than most, but not better. Still, the relationship grew. Professionally, she became indispensable. She handled crisis calls at 2 a.m., redlined contracts in silence while Ethan paced in glass-walled boardrooms, soothed irate shareholders and managed rogue department heads with 3-word emails. People stopped questioning why she was always in the room. Personally, things got complicated. He was separated. Then divorced. His daughter, Ella, came to the office some Fridays, drawing stick figures on Cassandra's notepad while her father closed 7-figure deals. One morning, Cassandra brought blueberry muffins for a meeting. Ella asked if she could help. Cassandra handed her the bag. "She's like a little version of you," Ethan said that day. "I hope she aims higher," Cassandra replied. But somewhere in the 3rd year, the rhythm shifted. Ethan started arriving late to morning check-ins. Canceling unknowns. Pushing off strategy sessions to take calls in hallways. Then, a new marketing director arrived 32, full of vision decks and startup swagger. Agile leadership, Ethan called it. Disposable loyalty, Cassandra thought. Then came the young executive assistant Natalie. Hired quietly. To help with overflow. A fresh degree, high heels, loud perfume, and a perfect Instagram of her desk with Ethan's initials blurred in the background. Cassandra didn't argue. She took the extra work Natalie couldn't finish. Cleaned up her formatting. Rewrote her emails. One day, Cassandra's desk was moved 3 rows back, reorganizing floor plans, HR said. Her name disappeared from 2 weekly meetings. Small things. Like watching a house slowly redecorate itself to forget you ever lived there. She noticed Ethan stopped texting past 9 p.m. One Friday, Ella ran up to Cassandra's desk and said, "Are we still doing pancakes Sunday?" Natalie looked confused. Cassandra smiled and said, "We'll see, sweetie." She never went to brunch again. Still, she stayed. Because Cassandra believed in timing. Not impulse. She didn't play office politics, she studied them. She'd seen senior staff pushed out before. Knew the signs. Knew that when a man like Ethan stopped talking, it wasn't because he had nothing to say. It was because he was preparing to disappear you from the narrative. So she adjusted. She stopped printing reports in color. Stopped attending optional meetings, started documenting everything: calls, requests, calendar changes. Nothing dramatic. Just habits she'd built from 5 years of making order from chaos. On her 5th anniversary at the company, HR sent a generic card. No mention from Ethan. No lunch. No flowers. Just an automated GIF with fireworks that wouldn't load. That same day, Ella left a note on her desk. "You're my favorite grown-up. You're not like the others." Cassandra folded it and placed it behind her ID badge. She knew then it was only a matter of time. Still, she waited. When Ethan's behavior shifted from distant to cold, no eye contact, curt instructions, refusing to take her recommendations, Cassandra made her final decision. Not to fight. To listen. Observe. Prepare. She wasn't just being replaced. She was being erased. And if they wanted silence from her, they'd get it. But not the kind they expected. The Thursday after my termination, I woke up before the alarm. Old habits die slow. I still brewed 2 cups of coffee, one for me, one for him. Then I poured his into the sink. I sat down, opened my laptop, and pulled up a folder I hadn't touched in months, Audit Backups 2023. Before they took my badge, I took copies. Not everything. Just the parts they overlooked. The parts they never understood. 6 months ago, I started noticing the patterns. Vendor names I didn't recognize. Purchase orders that didn't match usage. Recurring payments that had no real-world trail. I flagged them. Quietly. In May, I walked into Brandon's office and showed him 3 invoices. Same vendor. Same amount. All signed off by his new CFO, Sean Blythe. They're bundled consulting packages, Brandon said. Standard stuff. Don't worry about it. He didn't even ask where I found them. He just smiled like he was talking to someone forgettable. That's when I started saving everything. The fake vendor was called Orintech Solutions. A shell with a nice-looking website, no physical address, and a phone line that never connected. Over 5 months, they billed nearly $880,000. All greenlit by Sean. All through Brandon's office. Worse, I traced the domain registration of the vendor site. It was purchased with a personal Gmail address belonging to Brandon's executive assistant, the same woman who always smiled too much, took notes in meetings she barely understood, and had access to Brandon's calendar. I didn't jump to conclusions, I built the file. Dates, emails, transaction IDs, approvals. Then I stopped. I didn't want to believe it. Until 2 weeks before my termination, Cassandra Jr. got sick. Brandon left me at the hospital with her. He said he had to fly to New York for a board meeting. That night, I checked his calendar. There was no board meeting. Just dinner s.b. Sean Blythe. That was the last piece I needed. I always knew they would try to replace me. I just didn't think they'd do it while I was still holding the keys. The new girl, Harper, was smart enough to be dangerous. But not nearly cautious enough. She kept asking the wrong questions, at the wrong times, in the wrong way. Where's the asset log for vendor approval flow? What's the retention period for internal financials? How do we archive board call minutes again? Each time, I smiled. Answered half. They were building something. Not a new system. A new wall to keep me out. But what they didn't know was that I built the blueprint of the walls they were hiding behind. So I let them build. I let them replace. I let them cut. But I also let the systems log every single change. The day after I was fired, I called a name no one expected: Clara Ng. She wasn't in finance. She wasn't even in management. She was Cassandra Jr.'s old nanny, now working as a paralegal at a boutique firm in Boston. I asked her to look up Orintech Solutions. Just basic stuff. Registered agents. Legal filings. She called back that afternoon. They're a ghost corp, Clara said. No payroll. No tax returns. No legal counsel on record. But I did find something odd. There was one personal expense claim attached to the vendor, filed during setup a dinner at Veritas, 2 blocks from Brandon's condo. On the same night Cassandra Jr. was in urgent care. The name on the card? I asked. Clara hesitated. Then, it was yours, Cassandra. I blinked. They used your old business card for the founding dinner, she said. You didn't just get fired. You got framed. That night, I opened the email account no one remembered. It was a dead inbox. One I created back when we piloted our first client feedback tool, a sandbox domain with no links to internal logs. I drafted the first message. Subject: discrepancy in vendor audits FYI. To boardalertsvntralfa.com. Attachments 1. I didn't explain everything, just enough for them to start asking the right questions. Then I waited. I used to believe loyalty meant something. But that belief faded the same day Brandon replaced our anniversary dinner with a team offsite in Tahoe. Now, I believe in documentation. In patterns. In logs. And in silence. Silence that builds like pressure. Until it cracks. By the end of the week, I had a call scheduled with someone unexpected. Marcus Dell, the only board member who'd ever spoken to me like a person. "Can we meet off record?" I'd asked. His answer was one word, yes. The board didn't know yet. But they were about to. And Brandon? He was about to realize the one person he tried to erase was the only one who knew where the cracks began. Cassandra had always believed that revenge wasn't the goal. Clarity was. By Monday, she had both. At 6:42 a.m., she stepped into the co-working space 2 blocks from the old office, the one she quietly registered a side LLC through 3 years ago when Ethan first joked about Cassandra Incorporated. It had a door, a desk, and most importantly a private server. The folder she brought with her was labeled for Marcus. Inside a timeline of transfers to Orintech, metadata from internal approvals, emails between Ethan and Sean using off-network accounts, and a security badge log showing that on the night the founding dinner happened Ethan's card never left the building. But Cassandra's had. She didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, she scheduled a lunch meeting. Marcus didn't ask for a reason. Just, where? By noon, she was seated across from him at a quiet booth downtown. Marcus Dell was sharp. Semi-retired. Once called the conscience of the board by an industry paper before he refused a 5M bonus redistribution. He stirred his tea like he was waiting for a storm. "I assume this isn't about job references," he said. Cassandra slid the folder across. "No. It's about truth." He read in silence. Page after page. Line by line. At one point, he paused and looked up. "They used your card?" She nodded. "And that's just the elegant part." He raised an eyebrow. "They've layered this well. Fake vendors. Ghost approvals. And now silence. That's why I had to wait. If I made noise, they'd spin it." He closed the folder. "So what do you want?" Cassandra smiled. "I want them to answer questions. In front of you. In front of audit. In front of people who read more than headlines." She didn't go public. She went deeper. Every night for a week, she cross-referenced dates and locations, bank records, and board schedules. Found another consulting firm tied to Ethan's cousin. A shell registered in Delaware, paid $312,000 for organizational design consulting. There were patterns in the invoices, all filed on Fridays. All signed off by the same assistant. The woman who replaced Cassandra's desk. On Wednesday morning, Cassandra sent the first email. Not to Ethan. Not to Sean. To HR Legal. Subject: conflict of interest disclosure. She signed it from a private identity she used for compliance audits not tied to her official exit. In the body, she listed 3 vendors, 6 transactions, and 1 question: were these conflicts of interest reported to the board before approval? No accusations. No claims. Just documentation. 3 hours later, Sean's calendar was blocked out for the day. Ethan left the office at 3:17 p.m. without explanation. That night, Cassandra scheduled the second email. Subject: FY 2023 Procurement Review Request for Independent Audit. It went to 3 members of the Finance Oversight Committee. From a private encrypted domain. Again, she didn't accuse. She asked. In reviewing past vendor policy adherence, are third-party firms included in procurement rotation logs? A quiet question. But one that meant someone was looking. And someone knew what to look for. The ripple spread. By Friday, the operations channel in the company's internal Slack was locked. A note from IT: access temporarily disabled pending compliance review. On LinkedIn, the young assistant who replaced her deleted all public mentions of her role. And Ethan? Ethan posted a photo of himself from his home office with the caption, "Recharging after a long week. Time to focus on what really matters." Cassandra smiled. She wasn't done. She had one more move. The one no one saw coming. Back in March, when she was still working late nights, she helped Ella build a birthday slideshow for Ethan. She used a company laptop. Ethan's personal Gmail was autosaved from a shared draft. What he didn't realize, she'd seen the name of the Google Drive folder. Q4 Agenda EPS Bonus Uplift. Not public. Not sent to finance. Just him, Sean, and one untraceable Gmail tied to the Delaware vendor. She still had the screenshot. She printed it. And placed it, without comment, in an envelope addressed to Marcus. No email. No subject line. Just one note: this wasn't just about replacing me. This was about protecting a fraud. One that used me as a shield. She sent it by courier. No name. No return address. But Marcus would know. He always did. That weekend, Ethan called. She let it ring twice before picking up. His voice was calm. Practiced. Still trying to play CEO even now. "Cass," he said. "We should have handled this better." "You mean firing me?" "No. I mean all of it. I didn't want it this way. But things got political. Say what you came to say. I'd like to meet." She paused. Then, "Not this time." "Cass, you're being emotional." She hung up. 2 hours later, she got an email. From legal. Subject: cease and desist unauthorized communications. Attached was a file demanding she stop sharing confidential company material. She didn't respond. She forwarded it to Clara. Clara replied, "Beautiful. They just admitted the materials were real." The board meeting was Monday. She wouldn't attend. She wouldn't speak. She wouldn't need to. Because by then, everything they built on top of her silence would already be cracking. The first crack appeared before sunrise. At 5:41 a.m., Marcus replied. Subject: board special session confirmed noon today. Body: I suggest you stay offline. Things will move fast. Cassandra closed the laptop and made tea. She didn't check the news. She didn't refresh Slack threads. She let the current pull. At 9:17 a.m., her phone buzzed. Clara: Ethan's LinkedIn is down. Comments wiped. HR portal locked. By 10:30, screenshots started circulating. A leaked memo: the board has initiated an external investigation into procurement activities involving executive-level staff. Effective immediately, CEO Brandon Ethan is placed on administrative leave. Her tea was still warm. Cassandra didn't celebrate. She prepared. She knew the real collapse wasn't loud. It was quiet. It was protocol. And that morning, protocol was bleeding. Natalie, the replacement assistant, updated her LinkedIn with "open to work." Sean Blythe disabled comments on every public post. By 11:45, 2 more vendor names she had flagged were removed from the internal systems log, likely a panicked cleanup attempt. Too late. 12:03 p.m., her phone rang. It was Marcus. No greeting. Just a "you were right, they used your name to bury fraud." The board saw everything. Cassandra said nothing. He continued, "We'll be issuing a formal statement by end of week. You'll be cleared publicly." "I don't need public," she replied. "I know," Marcus said. "But the truth deserves light." He hesitated. "Then Ethan wants to reach out. He's asking for a meeting." "No," he says, "Ella keeps asking for you." Cassandra's voice didn't crack. Only her breath paused. "She has her father. She trusted you." "I trusted him." Silence. "I understand," Marcus said. "You won't hear from us again. But thank you." She nodded. Tell Ella I'm proud of her drawings. By 4 p.m., news hit Tech Daily, CEO ousted amid scandal, internal assistant key to exposing 1.2M fraud scheme, her name wasn't mentioned. Just a former long-term executive assistant whose meticulous records revealed inconsistencies in high-level vendor transactions. The comment section was split, half disbelief, half vindication. One said, crazy how the one they erased ended up holding all the receipts. Another, a classic case of cutting the wrong wire. She was the system. Cassandra closed the tab. She didn't need validation. She'd already won. That evening, her inbox lit up. Ethan, please. Just one call. For Ella. She didn't reply. He sent another. I made mistakes. But you know I loved her. She still asks for you every night. Then a photo. Ella, holding a picture she drew. Stick figures again. One tall, one small, holding hands under a blue sky. The label said, Mommy, see. Cassandra stared at it. Then she archived the email. Not because it didn't matter. But because it no longer controlled her. Saturday, Clara invited her to dinner. Your name's safe now, Clara said. You could go back. If you wanted. Cassandra smiled. I don't want back. I want forward. She raised a glass. Not to revenge. To release. She'd done what needed to be done. And she never had to raise her voice once. On Monday, a recruiter from Aimlin Systems called. Director-level operations. East Coast leadership track. We've heard about your clarity under pressure, the woman said. Cassandra said nothing. Then, I prefer not to bring baggage from my last company. The woman laughed. Understood. We're not hiring loyalty. We're hiring foresight. Cassandra accepted. A week later, a final envelope arrived by courier. No return name, just her initials, hand-inked. Inside a single sheet. Board Resolution 1724B Ethics Oversight Response, a formal apology. Signed by Marcus. Handwritten below, you were the calm before the storm. Thank you. Cassandra folded the letter. Slipped it into the same folder that held Ella's last drawing. Then she turned the folder over. Wrote one word on the back, done. 6 weeks later, the office that once hummed around Cassandra had changed its tune. Ellison Tech released a public statement, burying it in legal language and polite regret. Following an internal ethics review, certain executive actions were deemed inconsistent with company policy. No names. But everyone knew. Ethan had resigned to spend time with family. Sean had accepted opportunities elsewhere. Natalie deleted her socials. And Cassandra? She was gone by choice. By design. Her new role at Aimlin Systems came with a corner office, a quiet title director of operational integrity, and no babysitting grown men pretending to lead. She built systems from scratch. Taught interns the difference between protocol and politics. And every Friday, she took the elevator down at 5 p.m. sharp. No emergencies. No last-minute chaos. Just peace. She never said a word about Ellison. She didn't need to. The people who mattered already knew. One afternoon, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost declined. But something made her pick up. Cass? It was Ella. Daddy let me call. Cassandra's voice softened. Hey, sweet girl. I drew you something. It's us. But I made the sky purple. You always said normal is boring. Cassandra smiled. I love purple skies. There was a pause. Daddy cried, Ella said. I asked why you don't come over anymore. He said you don't like him now. Silence stretched. Cassandra breathed slow. I'll always like you, Ella. But some people need time to understand what they broke. Will you come back when he understands? I don't think so. Okay, Ella whispered. I just wanted to say I miss you. I miss you too. Click. Call ended. Cassandra didn't cry. She just sat, staring out the window of a new office in a city where no one called her just an assistant. Later that week, a letter arrived. Handwritten. No signature. You were never forgettable. I just wasn't brave enough. Cassandra folded it in half. Placed it in the drawer. Next to Ella's last drawing, then she locked the drawer. Some stories didn't need to be reread. On her final Friday of the quarter, Cassandra walked into a leadership offsite. Someone made a joke about emotional ex-assistants. Cassandra raised an eyebrow. The room quieted. She stood. Walked to the whiteboard. Drew 2 lines. One labeled control. One labeled trust. Most people confuse the two, she said. They think control builds safety. It doesn't. Trust does. But trust takes time. And discipline. And the willingness to leave ego outside. No one laughed again. That evening, she received an offer. VP of Risk and Operations Global. She said she'd think about it. Then turned off her phone and walked home in the rain. No umbrella. Just the weight of nothing she needed to carry anymore. Cassandra never returned to Ellison. But one day, she passed by the building. The receptionist was new. The walls had fresh paint. She didn't go inside. Just stood across the street. Watching. Not with anger. Not with pride. Just clarity. She had given 5 years to that place. And in return, they gave her the lesson of a lifetime. Loyalty means nothing to those who trade it for convenience. But for those who wait, truth returns. Quietly. Completely. And just in time.